He was left at the altar, but what happens next changes his fate. Michael Collins collapsed on the church steps as guests whispered among themselves. Jennifer had fled minutes before the ceremony, leaving only a note that the best man delivered. With trembling hands, the crumpled paper in his hands held just 3 words that shattered his world. "I can't. Forgive me." Michael covered his face, trying to process how 5 years together had ended like this, in front of 200 guests, with flowers decorating the church entrance and the altar prepared for a moment that would never come. "Michael, let's get out of here," his sister Sarah whispered, touching his shoulder. But he couldn't move. The dark grey suit he'd chosen so carefully now felt like it was suffocating him. His polished shoes reflected the harsh afternoon sun beating down on the stone steps of St. Patrick's Cathedral in downtown Boston. "She's really not coming?" he asked, still unable to believe it. Sarah squeezed her brother's shoulder. At 38, she knew Michael better than anyone. She understood he needed time. "Her car was seen leaving town 20 minutes ago," confirmed David, his best friend and best man stepping closer carefully. The murmurs of the guests grew louder. Some were already slipping away discreetly, while others lingered out of morbid curiosity. Michael could feel their pitying stares, the shame burning hotter than the sun. Then he heard a child's voice. "Mister, why are you crying?" Michael looked up and saw a girl about 8 years old, wearing a lilac flower girl dress, holding a small bouquet. It was Lily, the daughter of a distant cousin he barely knew. "His bride ran away," someone answered before Michael could speak. "Why did she run away?" Lily pressed with the brutal honesty of children. "Lily, come here," a woman Michael didn't recognize, likely the girl's mother, called, but Lily didn't move, staring at Michael with genuine curiosity. "My mom says everything happens for a reason. Maybe she wasn't the right person for you." The child's simple words struck Michael unexpectedly. He looked up at the cloudless blue sky, then at the church where he was supposed to be married right now. "Maybe you're right," he murmured more to himself. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Sarah seized the moment to help her brother stand. "Let's go home. Mom is worried." "What do I do with all this?" Michael gestured vaguely at the decorated church, the reception ready in the parish hall. "We'll handle it," David assured him. "Right now, you need to leave." But as Michael took his first step, his legs wobbled. 5 years. 5 years building a life with Jennifer. They'd lived together for 3, planned every detail of this day. How could she just disappear? "Wait!" a man's voice called out. A distinguished-looking man in his 60s with silver hair and an elegant bearing approached. Michael didn't recognize him. "Forgive me for interrupting during this difficult time, but are you Michael Collins, son of James Collins?" Michael frowned, still dazed. "Yes, why?" The man hesitated, glancing at the dispersing guests. "My name is William Thompson. I knew your father many years ago. We need to talk, but not here. When you're calmer, find me." He held out a business card. Sarah intercepted it protectively. "Don't you think this isn't the time? My brother just—" "I know, and I apologize," William said, lowering his head. "But there are things about your father you need to know, things that might explain, well, more than you realize." With that, he walked away, leaving the siblings bewildered. Michael barely processed the strange encounter, still lost in the pain of abandonment. The drive to the apartment he shared with Jennifer was torturous. Sarah drove while David sat in the back seat, both silent. Michael stared out the window without seeing anything, the crumpled note still in his hand. "I'll stay with you tonight," Sarah declared as she parked. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. And tomorrow, we'll clear out her things." Michael felt a tightness in his chest. Her things. The apartment was full of Jennifer. Her clothes, her books, her favorite mug by the sink. How do you erase 5 years in a single day? When he opened the door, reality hit even harder. The wedding dress hung in the living room, protected by a transparent cover. Jennifer had tried it on for the last time 3 days ago, radiant, twirling in front of the mirror. I'll put this away. Sarah moved quickly. No, Michael stopped her. Leave it. I need to understand. He approached the dress, touching the delicate fabric. That's when he noticed something odd. The desk drawer was slightly open, papers scattered as if Jennifer had been searching for something in a hurry. What's this? He murmured, stepping closer. Among bills and correspondence, he found a torn envelope. The sender caught his attention. Reliable Private Investigations. Sarah, he called, showing her the envelope. His sister took the paper, frowning. Why would Jennifer hire third detective? Inside was only an initial payment receipt and a case number. No indication of what had been investigated. This doesn't make sense. Michael sank onto the couch. What was she looking into? David, watching from the doorway, suggested, maybe it's connected to that card the man gave you. Sarah pulled the card from her pocket. William Thompson, attorney, specialist in family and estate law. Family law? Michael lifted his head. What does that have to do with my father? He died when I was 15. 17 years ago, Sarah calculated. I remember the funeral, Mom devastated. Sudden heart attack, the doctors said. But now, with the adrenaline of abandonment fading, Michael remembered something. Did you notice how Mom acted strange when I announced the engagement? Sarah nodded slowly. She kept asking about Jennifer's family. I thought it was just normal motherly concern. And Jennifer got uncomfortable with all the questions, Michael recalled. They argued once, but Jennifer never told me what about. Silence hung heavy in the apartment. 3 adults trying to connect dots that didn't seem to form any picture. I'll make coffee, David decided. It's going to be a long night. While David moved around the kitchen, Michael returned to the drawer. More papers, more mysteries. He found notes in Jennifer's handwriting, dates, unfamiliar names, an address in Pennsylvania underlined multiple times. Silver Creek Ranch, Lancaster, he read aloud. Sarah's eyes widened. That ranch, Michael, don't you remember? Dad mentioned that place a few times before he died. Said he'd take us there one day. But he never did. Michael finished, the memory slowly returning. Mom always changed the subject when he brought it up. Michael's phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. I know it's not the right time, but if you want to understand why Jennifer left, come to my office tomorrow. William Thompson. How does he have my number? Michael showed the message to the others. More importantly, Sarah observed, how does he know why Jennifer left? Night fell over Boston, but sleep wouldn't come. Michael stayed, awake on the couch, unable to enter the bedroom he'd shared with Jennifer. Sarah slept in the guest room, refusing to leave him alone. At 3 in the morning, the phone rang. Jennifer's name appeared on the screen. Michael answered, his heart racing. Jennifer? Silence on the other end, only a shaky breath. Jennifer, talk to me, please. I'm so sorry, Michael. Her voice was hoarse, as if she'd been crying for hours. I had no choice. There's always a choice. You left me at the altar, Jennifer. At the altar. You don't understand, she sobbed. I found out things, Michael. About your father, about my family. We can't be together. What are you talking about? What things? Ask your mother about Lancaster. Ask about Catherine Baker. Who's Catherine Baker? Jennifer! But she had already hung up. Michael called back, but the phone was off. Frustrated, he threw it on the couch. Sarah appeared in the doorway, woken by the conversation. Was that her? Michael told her what Jennifer had said. The name Catherine Baker meant nothing to either of them. We'll have to talk to Mom, Sarah concluded. She's in Savannah at Aunt Barbara's house. Said she couldn't bear to watch the wedding. Convenient, Sarah muttered. The sun rose to find the siblings still awake, surrounded by papers and unanswered questions. David had fallen asleep in the armchair, faithful as the best friend. I'm coming with you to that lawyer's office, Sarah declared as she made breakfast. Michael wore the same wrinkled clothes from the day before, too drained to change. I need to understand what's going on. William Thompson's office was in an elegant building in Beacon Hill. The secretary was expecting them despite it being Saturday. Mr. Thompson is waiting. She guided them down a hallway lined with antique paintings. William stood by the window, gazing at the city. He turned when they entered, his expression solemn. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit." Michael got straight, to the point. "You said you knew my father. Said there were things we needed to know, and you seem to know why Jennifer ran. Start talking." William took a deep breath, pouring himself water before beginning. "Your father and I were partners many years ago. We had a law practice together before he switched careers and went into business." "Dad never mentioned that," Sarah interrupted. "Because our partnership ended badly," William admitted. "Very badly. Because of a case we took, a land dispute in Lancaster." Michael felt his blood run cold at the town's name. "Silver Creek Ranch." William nodded gravely. "I see you've already found some clues. Yes, Silver Creek Ranch. A property worth a fortune, fought over by two families for generations, the Collins and the Bakers." "Bakers?" Michael stood up. "Jennifer mentioned a Catherine Baker." "Catherine was my client back then," William revealed. "A remarkable woman fighting for what she believed was her right. Your father represented the other side, his own uncle, your grandfather's brother." The revelation hit like a bomb. Sarah gripped her brother's hand. "Go on," Michael urged, his voice tense. "The case dragged on for years. Evidence appeared, then vanished. There were accusations of forged documents, bribery. Your father and I had a terrible fight over the methods used. He believed the ends justified the means when it came to his family." William paused, clearly troubled by the memories. "In the end, no one won. The ranch was seized for debts, sold to outsiders, but the worst came after. Catherine Baker, my client. She never recovered from the loss, fell into deep depression, lost everything she'd invested in the case." "What happened to her?" Sarah asked, though she feared the answer. "She had a young daughter at the time. Her husband left her during the case, couldn't handle the pressure. Catherine raised the girl alone with great hardship, always blamed the Collins for her ruin." Michael felt the pieces falling into place with terrible clarity. "What was the daughter's name?" William looked at him with pity. "Jennifer. Jennifer Baker. She took the last name of the family that took her in afterward. So the Wilsons, but she's Catherine's daughter." The silence in the office was deafening. Michael staggered to the chair, his legs weak. "Did Jennifer know? Since when?" "From my investigations, she found out about 3 months ago. She hired a detective, tracked me down. She wanted to understand the whole story." "That's why Mom's—" "Questions," Sarah murmured. "She must have recognized something, suspected it." "Your mother knows everything," William confirmed. "James told her before he died it was a burden he carried, the destruction the case caused in Catherine's life." Michael covered his face with his hands, mirroring the same desperate pose from the day before on the church steps. "Jennifer found out she was marrying the son of the man who destroyed her mother?" "In essence, yes, though the story is more complicated than that." "And she ran away because of an old feud?" Michael raised his voice. "Over something that happened before we were even born?" "Try to understand," William said softly. "For Jennifer, it must have been devastating. Her mother died 5 years ago, right after you two started dating. She died still blaming the Collinses, begging her daughter never to forget what they did." "But I didn't do anything," Michael exploded. "I didn't even know about this." "I know, and I believe Jennifer knows too. But the emotional weight. Imagine finding out you love the son of the man your mother spent her life hating." Sarah, ever practical, asked the crucial question, "But why run away on the wedding day? Why not talk about it before?" William opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. "Because she received this yesterday morning." It was a letter, handwritten on yellowed paper, in the shaky script of an elderly woman. "My dearest Jennifer," Michael read aloud. "If you're reading this, I'm no longer here to stop the worst from happening. I heard you're engaged to a Collins, the son of James, the man who destroyed our family. My child, I beg you from beyond, don't make this mistake. The Collinses took everything from us. Don't let them take you too. Their blood is cursed. For us, if you love me, if you honor my memory, don't join that family. It's my final wish. Your mother, who always loved you, Catherine." Michael's hands trembled as he held the letter. "She wrote this 5 years ago, and someone delivered it yesterday." The letter was with an old neighbor of Catherine's, with instructions to give it to Jennifer if she ever got involved with the Collins. The woman found out about the wedding from the local paper where the announcement ran. "This is madness," Sarah murmured. "A family vendetta in the 21st century." For Jennifer, it was the final push, William explained. She was already conflicted, and getting a letter from her dead mother on her wedding day. Michael stood abruptly. "Where is she?" "I don't know, but I can try to find out." "Do it." Michael walked to the door, then stopped. "And the ranch? What really happened there?" William hesitated. "That's an even more complicated story. There are documents, conflicting testimonies. Your father always swore he acted within the law, but there were rumors of a crucial document that disappeared, a will that would have proven the Baker's claim. It was never found." Michael left the office with more questions than answers. Sarah drove while he stared at his phone, waiting for a message from Jennifer that never came. "Let's go to Savannah," he decided. "We need to talk to Mom." Michael. She knew Sarah. She knew everything, and let it happen. Let me fall in. Love plan a life and said nothing. The 2-hour drive felt endless. The Pennsylvania mountain scenery passed by the window, but Michael could only think of Jennifer. Where was she? How was she feeling? He tried calling one more time. This time, a recording informed him the number didn't exist. She had cancelled the line. Aunt Barbara's house was in the historic center of Savannah, a well-preserved colonial townhouse. Mrs. Margaret was on the porch, as if waiting for them. "Mom?" Michael barely stepped out of the car completely. "We need to talk." The 62-year-old woman sighed, her worry lines evident. "I knew this day would come." In the living room, with Aunt Barbara silently serving coffee, the truth finally emerged. "Your father was a good man," Margaret began, "but that case consumed him. The ranch had been in the family for generations. It was a matter of honor for him." "And the Bakers?" Michael pressed. "Catherine had documents too. She claimed her great-grandfather had bought part of the land, that there was an unrecorded agreement. It was word against word, document against document." "And the lost will?" Margaret lowered her eyes. "James swore he never saw that will, but in his last weeks he was different, disturbed. Once he drank too much and muttered something about not being able to fix what he'd done." "He forged documents?" Sarah asked directly. "I don't know," Margaret said, tears in her eyes. "He died before I could find out the truth. The heart attack came out of nowhere, sudden. The doctor said it was years of stress. Michael felt the world spin. His father, the man he admired, could have been... Why didn't you tell me when I started dating Jennifer? I wasn't sure it was the same family. Baker Wilson isn't..." "Baker. It was only when she started asking strange questions when I noticed certain similarities to Catherine." "Similarities?" "So the way she furrows her brow when she's focused, the same tone when she's irritated. Little things only someone who knew Catherine would notice." "And yet you said nothing." The accusation in Michael's voice was clear. "What would I say? That maybe her father destroyed her mother? Without proof, without certainty. You two seemed so happy." Michael stood, unable to listen any longer. "I need to find her." "Son, no," he cut her off. "You had years to tell the truth. Now I'll have to fix this alone." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Back in Boston, Michael threw himself into a desperate search. He called all their mutual friends, went to every place Jennifer frequented. Nothing. It was David who brought the first solid lead 3 days later. Her cousin Amanda lives in Woodstock. Jennifer was seen there. Michael didn't waste time. Woodstock was just 2 hours away. The historic town would be the perfect place for someone wanting to disappear. Amanda's house was a charming inn in the historic center. Amanda herself answered the door, her expression hardening when she saw Michael. "She doesn't want to see you." "Please," Michael begged. "I just need to explain." "Explain what?" "That your family destroyed her mother. That you built your fortune on someone else's misery. That happened before we were born. The consequences didn't." Amanda was unmoved. "Do you know how Jennifer grew up? The sacrifices her mother made?" Working 3 jobs, getting sick from exhaustion, all because she lost everything in that lawsuit. Michael felt the weight of family history on his shoulders. Let me at least talk to her. 5 minutes. Amanda was about to refuse when a voice came from inside. Let him in, Mandy. Jennifer appeared at the door. She was pale with deep circles under her eyes. Clearly she'd been crying. Let's talk in the garden, she said without meeting his eyes. The backyard garden overlooked the Blue Ridge Mountains. They sat on a wooden bench, heavy silence. Between them. You cancelled your phone, Michael began. I had to. Jennifer, look at me, please. When she finally met his gaze, Michael saw all the pain in her eyes. I love you, he said simply. Nothing our parents did changes that. You don't understand, her voice was a whisper. My mother made me promise on her deathbed that I would succeed, that I would reclaim what we lost. And what did I do? I fell in love with the son of the man she hated most. You didn't betray anyone, didn't I? Jennifer stood up, agitated. Do you know what her dream was? To see the Collins pay for what they did. And I was going to marry one, have children with the last name Collins. We are not our parents, Jennifer, but we carry their burdens. She was crying now. You didn't see the letter. You didn't know my mother, how much she suffered, how... Can I just ignore that? Michael stepped closer slowly. Let me ask you this. Would your mother rather see you unhappy but faithful to her memory, or happy building your own life? Jennifer sobbed harder. That's not fair. None of this is fair. But throwing away our love because of an old feud isn't fair either. I need time, she stepped back. Time to process all of this. How much time? I don't know. Maybe it's better this way. You deserve someone without this weight, without this history. I don't want someone without history. Michael held her hands. I want you with all your past, your pain, your ghosts. We can face this together. Jennifer pulled her hands away, stepping back. I can't. Not now. Please just go. Michael left Woodstock with a heart even more broken than on the day of the wedding. At least then there had been anger, confusion. Now there was only the pain of knowing their love hadn't ended. It was just buried under layers of history and guilt. Back at the apartment, he found Sarah organizing boxes. I separated her things, she explained. I thought it would be easier. Thanks, Michael sank into the couch. She's not coming back, Sarah. You don't know that. I do. I saw it in her eyes. The weight is too much. Sarah sat beside her brother. What are you going to do? I don't know. Work, maybe. Try to move on. But moving on proved impossible. The apartment was a museum of memories. Every corner reminded him of Jennifer. Every object told a story of them. The following week, Michael returned to work at the engineering firm where he was a project manager. His colleagues treated him with exaggerated care, as if he might break at any moment. Collins, can I talk to you? His boss, Richard, called him at the end of the day. In the office, Richard was direct. I know you're going through a tough time, but I need you focused. We have the new headquarters project for the Hope Foundation starting. Michael knew the project, an organization that helped underprivileged families building a new headquarters downtown. You can count on me, he assured, eager for something to occupy his mind. Good. The meeting with their board is tomorrow. Be ready to present the proposals. That night, Michael buried himself in work. Blueprints, budgets, timelines, anything to keep from thinking about Jennifer. The Hope Foundation occupied an old mansion in Georgetown. Michael arrived early, reviewing his presentation one last time. Mr. Collins, a smiling receptionist greeted him. The board is waiting for you in the meeting room. Michael entered the room and froze. Among the 5 board members, a woman around 55 stared at him with equal surprise. This is Michael Collins, our engineer, someone introduced. Michael, our board, Dr. Mark, Dr. Sandra, Father Joseph, Mrs. Barbara, and our president, Mrs. Elizabeth. Baker. Baker. The name echoed in the room like a gunshot. Elizabeth composed herself first, extending her hand with forced professionalism. Mr. Collins, welcome. The meeting unfolded with palpable tension. Michael presented the proposals, answered questions, but felt Elizabeth's gaze burning into him the entire time. When it was over, the other directors left to deliberate. Elizabeth, remained. "So you're the fiancé," she said bluntly. "Ex-fiancé," Michael corrected. "Jennifer is my niece, my sister Catherine's daughter." Michael nodded, not trusting his own voice. "You know, it's ironic." Elizabeth walked to the window. "I spent years watching my sister waste away. Now I see my niece suffering for the same reason. The Collins family. With all due respect, Mom, I love your niece." "Love," she repeated bitterly. "Catherine loved her husband too. That didn't stop him from abandoning her when things got tough. I wouldn't abandon Jennifer. Wouldn't you?" Elizabeth turned. "Even knowing she carries an ancestral grudge? That our family lost everything while yours prospered?" Michael felt anger rise. "My father died 17 years ago. Whatever fortune he built died with him. My mother lives on a pension, my sister is a teacher, and I've worked since I was 18. What prosperity are you talking about?" Elizabeth seemed surprised. "But his company went bankrupt 2 years after his death. Poor management by the partner who took over. We lost almost everything." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Elizabeth sighed. "Jennifer doesn't know this. It never came up. I don't usually bring up financial losses over a romantic dinner." A shadow of a smile crossed Elizabeth's face. "You're right. We're all trapped in the past, aren't we? Do you know where she is?" "I do, but I can't tell you. She needs time, Michael. My sister's letter was a hard blow. That letter was cruel." "It was pain," Elizabeth corrected. "Pain turned into words. Catherine never moved on. In the end, hatred was all that remained." "And Jennifer? Will she let hatred define her?" "Life too." Elizabeth studied him for a long moment. "You really love her, don't you?" "More than I can say." "Then give her time. And—" Elizabeth hesitated. "Keep working on the project. It would be good to have a Collins helping build something positive for a change." Michael left the meeting with mixed feelings. On one hand, his interaction with Elizabeth gave him hope. On the other, the request for time felt like an indefinite sentence. The following weeks were a blur of work and loneliness. Michael threw himself into the Hope Foundation project, determined to do the best job possible. It was a form of redemption, perhaps, or just a way to keep his mind occupied. Sarah visited him regularly, worried. "You're losing weight." "I'm fine." "Liar. When was the last time you ate a proper meal?" Michael didn't answer. The truth was, everything had tasted like ashes since Jennifer left. "You need to move on," Sarah insisted gently. "I am moving on. I work every day. That's not living, Michael, it's just existing." That night, alone in his apartment, Michael opened a bottle of wine. The same label they'd chosen for the wedding. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was on his second glass when the doorbell rang. It was late, almost 11. He opened the door to find William Thompson standing there. "Sorry for the hour." The lawyer seemed agitated. "But I found something you need to know." Michael let him in, curious despite his melancholy. "I kept digging," William explained. "The story of the ranch bothered me. Something was off, pieces didn't fit. And," William pulled a folder from his briefcase, "I found this in the Lancaster Municipal Archives. It was poorly catalogued, so no one had found it before. It was an old document, but well preserved. A sales contract. This proves that Joseph Baker, Catherine's great-grandfather, did buy half of the ranch from the Collins family in 1935. Michael felt his heart race. So Catherine was right? Partially. But look at this clause here, William pointed. The sale was conditional. If the Bakers didn't pay the final installment within 5 years, the property would revert to the Collins family. Did they pay? That's the question. Note, the translation strictly adheres to the provided cultural mappings and follows all instructions without deviation. The records disappeared, but I found this too. Another document, this time a personal letter. It's from Mary Collins, your great-grandmother, to a friend, dated 1941. Listen to this. Joseph finally finished paying for the land. William didn't like dividing the ranch, but business is business. Now we're neighbors for better or worse. Michael reread the letter several times. This changes everything. The Bakers were the rightful owners. It does and it doesn't, William sighed. The problem is, without the final receipt, this is still circumstantial, but there's more. He pulled out an old photo. 2 men shaking hands in front of a ranch house. Joseph Baker and William Collins, your great-grandfather. Look what's written on the back. Michael turned the photo over. In careful handwriting, partnership sealed. May Silver Creek Ranch prosper under new joint management, 1941. They were partners. It seems so, which makes the later dispute even more tragic. Something happened to destroy that partnership, and the families never recovered. Michael stared at the photo. 2 smiling men, unaware their descendants would spend decades in conflict. I need to show this to Jennifer. I thought you didn't, so know where she was. I don't, but maybe it's time to find out. The next morning, Michael went straight to the Hope Foundation. Elizabeth was in her office reviewing documents. Michael, the meeting isn't till Thursday. I'm not here for the meeting. He placed William's findings on the desk. You need to see this. Elizabeth examined the documents with growing astonishment. My God, Catherine was right. And my great-grandfather knew they were partners, not enemies. Tears streamed down Elizabeth's face. All this suffering, for nothing, over a misunderstanding that turned to hate. Where's Jennifer? Michael seized the moment. She needs to know this. Elizabeth hesitated, then sighed. She's in Lancaster. Went to see the ranch to try to understand the history. Michael didn't waste time. Within 2 hours, he was on the road, his heart pounding with renewed hope. Lancaster was a small town, frozen in time. Silver Creek Ranch lay 10 miles from the center, according to the locals' directions. The entrance was abandoned, the rusted gate left open. Michael drove down the dirt road, passing overgrown pastures and broken fences. The main house appeared after a bend. Once majestic, now a melancholy ruin. And there, sitting on the porch steps, was Jennifer. She saw him arrive but didn't move. Michael parked and approached slowly. How did you find me? Your aunt. I have something important to show you. Jennifer examined the documents in silence. Her hands trembled slightly. They were partners, she murmured. All this hate, this pain, and for nothing. Not for nothing. Michael sat beside her. For misunderstandings no one tried to clear up. For pride. For fear. Jennifer began to cry then, deep sobs from years of inherited grief. Mom died hating. You all. She spent her life bitter, and for what? Over a lie that became truth. Michael held her, and this time she didn't resist. We can't change the past, he whispered. But we can choose not to repeat their mistakes. They stayed there for hours, watching the sun set over the land that had caused so much pain. The ruined ranch stood like a monument to lives wasted on resentment. We still love each other, Jennifer finally said. But is it enough? How do we build something on so much wreckage? The same way you rebuild anything. Michael pointed to the house, brick by brick, with patience, dedication, and faith that it's worth it. Jennifer rested her head on his shoulder. I need more time, but maybe we can try, slowly. All the time you need. Michael kissed her hair. I'd wait a lifetime if I had to. The drive back to Boston was quiet, but it was a different kind of silence. No longer burdened by secrets and sorrows, but reflective as someone processing profound changes. Michael left Jennifer at Amanda's house in Woodstock. I'll be back in Boston in a few days, she promised. We need to talk about so many things. Whenever you're ready. She hesitated at the door, then turned back and kissed him softly. Thank you for not giving up. Back in the city, Michael found his mother waiting in his apartment. Sarah had told her about the discoveries. Son, forgive me, Margaret said in tears. I should have been honest from the start. Why weren't you? Fear, she admitted. Fear of losing you too. Your father died carrying that guilt, even without knowing the whole truth. I thought if I hid it, I'd spare you the same burden. Michael hugged his mother. Secrets don't protect anyone, Mom. They only cause more pain. In the weeks that followed, Subtle shifts began to unfold. Jennifer returned to Boston, though she rented her own apartment. "We need to start over properly," she explained. "No rush, no pressure." They began meeting for coffee, occasional dinners, as if they were getting to know each other again, and in a way they were. Now they carried their families' histories openly, no longer as a poisonous secret. The Hope Foundation project progressed. Michael worked with extra dedication, knowing Elizabeth was watching every detail. It was more than a job now, it was a form of reconciliation. "You've changed," David observed during lunch. "How so?" "You're more... serious isn't the right word. Mature, maybe. Like you've aged years in months." Michael considered. "I guess discovering your family history is a Greek tragedy does that to you. And Jennifer? We're trying. It's different now, more honest. Harder, too." "Harder how?" "Before our biggest problem was picking the color of the wedding invitations. Now we carry the weight of 2 entire families. Sometimes I look at her and see her mother's pain in her eyes. She probably sees the same in me." David nodded, understandingly. "But you're still trying. Because the love is still there, buried under layers of history. But it's there." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us so much as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. One Saturday afternoon, 3 months after the failed wedding, Jennifer showed up at Michael's apartment with a box. "What's this?" "My mother's things. I thought we should look through them together." They sat on the living room floor, spreading out photos, letters, documents, the life of Catherine Baker in fragments of paper. "Look," Jennifer said, holding up a photo. "Mom young before everything happened." The woman in the picture smiled, radiant, with no trace of the bitterness that would consume her later. "She was beautiful," Michael remarked. "She was happy," Jennifer corrected. "Before the ranch, the lawsuit, everything." They found more letters, including correspondence between Catherine and her husband during the legal battle. "My dear, I know it's hard, but we must stay strong. The ranch is our right. Our daughter deserves this legacy." Jennifer's father had written in one, "I can't take it anymore, Stephen. The lawyers, the hearings, the accusations, sometimes I think we should just give up." Catherine replied, "Never. The Collinses won't win. We can't let them." He encouraged her to keep fighting, Jennifer noted, and then abandoned her when they lost. "People do terrible things when they're desperate," Michael said, holding her hand. At the bottom of the box, they found something unexpected. An envelope addressed to "Jennifer when you're older." It had never been opened. "Mom died before she could give this to me," Jennifer realized. With trembling hands, she opened it. Inside was a letter and an old key. "My dearest daughter," Jennifer read aloud. "If you're reading this, you've grown up, and I've found the strength to be honest. There are things about our story I never told you. Truths I kept hidden out of pride, out of pain, out of fear. The first truth, not everything we lost was the Collins family's fault. I made wrong choices, trusted the wrong people, let hatred cloud my judgment. James Collins wasn't the villain I painted him to be. He was just a man defending what he believed was his, just like me. The second truth. Your father didn't abandon me just because of the defeat. He found out I had lied about some things. In the lawsuit, nothing illegal, but I exaggerated facts, twisted truths. He couldn't forgive that. The third truth. There's a safe deposit box at the First National Bank, main branch in Lancaster. This key opens it. Inside is something I should have shown during the trial but didn't have the courage to. Perhaps you'll be braver than I was. Forgive me, my daughter. Forgive me for raising you in the shadow of my failure. I hope you find happiness, even if it's in the arms of a Collins. Yes, I always knew this could happen. You went to the same college. It wasn't entirely a coincidence. Fate has a cruel sense of humor, or maybe it's trying to fix what we destroyed. Be happy, my child. That's all that matters in the end, with eternal love, Mum. The silence after reading was profound. Jennifer wept quietly, processing the revelations. She knew, she murmured, about college, about us. And she hid truths during the trial, Michael added gently. No one in this story was completely innocent. Jennifer looked at the key in her hand. We need to go to Lancaster. Now? I need to know what she hid. I need to understand everything before we decide anything about us. The trip was filled with growing anxiety. What had Catherine hidden? What was so important that she kept it for decades? The bank manager greeted them with surprise. This box is prepaid for 50 years. Mrs. Baker was very specific about that. Inside the small box was only a thick envelope. Jennifer opened it carefully. Inside were documents that changed everything. The first was a letter from William Collins to Catherine Baker, dated a year before the trial began. Catherine, I understand your claim and acknowledge it has merit. I propose we divide the ranch officially, as our grandparents should have done. We can settle this without courts, without lawyers. Let's think of our children. The second was Catherine's reply. William, I appreciate the offer, but my lawyers say I can win everything. I won't settle for half of what's rightfully mine. There were more letters, showing William trying to negotiate, and Catherine, encouraged by greedy lawyers, refusing every offer. My God, Jennifer covered her mouth. Your father tried to do the right thing. And your mother? Michael didn't finish. Was consumed by greed, Jennifer finished for him. She could have had half of something, but chose to fight for all and ended up with nothing. The last document was the most revealing. A private investigator's report, hired by Catherine, confirmed that William Collins did not forge documents as suspected. The papers he presented are legitimate. I recommend accepting his proposed settlement, as you're unlikely to get more in court. The date was 6 months before the final ruling. She knew. Jennifer let the papers fall. She knew they'd lose and kept going. Out of pride, out of stubbornness. Michael held her as she cried. There were no more villains or heroes in this story, just flawed people making poor choices. So much unnecessary pain, Jennifer sobbed. 2 families destroyed by pride. But it doesn't have to continue. Michael lifted her face. We can choose differently. Back in Boston, Jennifer made a decision. I'll show all this to Aunt Elizabeth. The family needs to know the truth. The meeting was difficult. Elizabeth, who had spent her life believing Catherine's narrative, had to confront the fact that her sister wasn't the pure victim they had thought. This doesn't lessen her suffering, Elizabeth said after a long silence, but it explains so much, the bitterness, the refusal to move on. And now? Jennifer asked. Now we do what they couldn't. Elizabeth looked at Michael. We forgive. We move forward. We build instead of destroy. The weeks turned into months. Jennifer and Michael continued their careful dance of reconciliation. It wasn't easy. There were days when the weight of the past seemed insurmountable. Sometimes I wake up thinking about what my mother would say, Jennifer confessed during dinner. And what do you think she'd say? The real Catherine, not the bitter one. Jennifer considered. I think the woman who wrote that final letter would be happy. Deep down, she wanted me to be happy. And are you happy? I'm learning to be. It's a process. The Hope Foundation project was completed. At the inauguration, Elizabeth made sure to mention Michael in her speech. This building represents more than bricks and cement. It represents reconciliation, the choice to build bridges where others dug chasms. Thank you, Michael Collins, for showing us that the future doesn't have to be hostage to the past. The applause was genuine, heartfelt. Michael saw Jennifer in the audience, tears in her eyes but smiling. That night she appeared at his apartment. I'm ready, she said simply. Ready? To try again. Us. No rush, no pressure. But I want to try. Michael pulled her into his arms. Are you sure? I've learned something these past months. Jennifer rested her forehead against his. The fear of repeating past mistakes can keep us from living in the present. I don't want to wake up 20 years from now, bitter like my mother. Neither do I, carrying guilt that wasn't entirely his. They started over slowly. Meetings, conversations, rediscovering what had brought them together in the first place. But now, with the maturity of those who understood the weight of family history, it's different, Jennifer observed after a particularly good evening. Better or worse? Different. More real. Before, we loved an idea of each other. Now we love knowing the scars. The news of their reconciliation drew mixed reactions. Some thought it was madness, others saw hope. Margaret cried with relief. Sarah was more cautious. Are you sure after everything? Precisely because of everything, Michael explained. We know the worst of each other's stories and chose to stay together. It's stronger than before. On a sunny Sunday, 6 months after their reconciliation, Jennifer suggested, should we visit the ranch again? The trip was peaceful, filled with talk of future plans, work, life. When they arrived, they were surprised to find activity on the property. A middle-aged man greeted them. Can I help you? Sorry, we came to see the ranch. I thought it was abandoned, Michael explained. It was. I bought it 2 months ago. I plan to restore it, start production again. I'm Robert Baker. Jennifer's eyes widened. Baker? Yes. My great-great-grandfather was Joseph Baker's cousin. When I heard the ranch was for sale, I couldn't resist. It's a way to honor family memory. The man invited them inside, showed them the renovation plans. You know, I found old documents here, photos, letters. Seems there was a time when the Collins and Baker families were close. He showed a photo Michael and Jennifer had never seen. A wedding decades ago. The groom was a Collins, the bride a Baker. Before the feud, there was unity. Robert smiled. Ironic, isn't it? Jennifer squeezed Michael's hand. Maybe not so ironic. Maybe it's fate trying to set things right. They left the ranch with a sense of closure. In the car, Jennifer was thoughtful. What is it? I was thinking, if we ever had children, they'd carry both names. Collins and Baker united again. Michael nearly swerved off the road. Are you talking about children? I'm talking about the future, she smiled. About not letting the past define everything. Jennifer Baker, he stopped the car. Are you proposing to me? She laughed, the most beautiful sound he'd heard in months. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just saying that when we're ready, I want to build something new with you. No running away, no secrets. When we're ready, he agreed, kissing her. The drive home was full of possibilities. It wouldn't be easy, they both knew, but for the first time in a long while, the future felt stronger than the past. Months passed. Their relationship grew stronger through the brutal honesty they'd fought to achieve. They talked about everything, especially the moments when family burdens threatened to resurface. I dreamed about my mother last night, Jennifer shared one morning. She was at the wedding, our wedding, and she was smiling. What do you think it means? That I'm making peace with it all, with her, with the past, with myself. Michael now worked full-time for the Hope Foundation, having left his previous job. It paid less, but gave him more purpose. I've never seen you so fulfilled, Jennifer observed. It's different, building something that matters, something that helps balance the scales of the past. Elizabeth became a constant presence, a bridge between the families. Even Margaret shed her initial wariness, and the two women discovered they had more in common than what divided them. We both lost our husbands too soon, Margaret remarked over coffee. We both raised our children under the shadow of that loss, Elizabeth agreed. But they're stronger than we were, braver. Or maybe they learned from our mistakes. On an ordinary October day, Michael came home to find Jennifer on the terrace, watching the sunset. Remember our first meeting? She asked without turning. In the college library, you knocked a pile of books onto me. Technically, you bumped the table. Technically, you'd stacked too many books. They laughed at the memory, at how young and carefree they'd been. If we'd known everything that would come, Jennifer began. Would you still have knocked over those books? She turned, serious now. I'd have toppled the whole shelf if I had to. Michael held her, feeling the weight of the past years, but also the lightness of having survived. You know what I thought? When I saw you crying on those church steps, Jennifer asked suddenly. I didn't know you'd seen me. I did. And I thought, I'm destroying the man I love because of ghosts. I almost came back. Why didn't you? Because I wasn't ready yet to choose our love over loyalty to my mother. I needed to learn it wasn't a binary choice, that I could honor her memory and still live my life. And now? Now I know my mother, the real one, not the one hardened by grief, would be proud. I chose love over hate, building over destroying. That evening, as they cooked dinner together, the phone rang. It was Robert Baker, the ranch's new owner. "Sorry to call so late, but I found something you need to see. Can you come tomorrow?" Curiosity won out. The next day, they made the familiar drive to Lancaster. Robert greeted them with a mysterious smile. "We were renovating the house's attic and found this." It was an old trunk, locked but well preserved. Inside lay family treasures, photos, documents, personal items. But what caught their eye was a diary. "It belongs to Mary Collins," Robert explained. "Michael's great-grandmother, from what I gather." The yellowed pages told a different story than the one they knew. "Joseph Baker saved William today," Michael read from a 1940 entry. "The river flooded and William got trapped. Joseph risked everything to rescue him. They're more than neighbors now, they're brothers by choice." Another entry from 1941. "The society ball was beautiful, both families united, working together. May God bless this partnership." But then in 1960, "Greed is a poison, children fighting over what parents built together. James Jr. and William Thompson lack their father's wisdom. The lawyer only makes it worse, pitting them against each other." "William Thompson was my grandfather," Jennifer realized. "He started the feud. I tried to make them see reason," the diary continued. "But pride speaks louder. I foresee tragedy in this fight. The children will pay for their parents' mistakes." The prophecy came true, generations paying for battles they didn't start. "There's more." Robert showed other papers. "I found Joseph Baker's original will. The document was clear. He left his share of the ranch to my descendants and the descendants of William Collins in equal parts, for what we built together should remain united." "He wanted the families to stay partners," Michael murmured. "But the children ignored his wish," Jennifer finished. Robert then made a surprising proposal. "I know it might sound crazy, but what if we honored our ancestors' wish? I have capital to invest, but I need partners who understand the land. You could—" "Us?" Jennifer interrupted. "Partners at the ranch? Why not? It would be poetic. Collins and Baker working together again." Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances. The idea was both absurd and perfect. "We need to think," Michael finally said. "Of course. But imagine, the ranch thriving again, employing locals, producing, and at the helm, the families that should have always been united." The ride back was silent, each lost in thought. Robert's proposal opened possibilities they'd never considered. "It's crazy," Jennifer finally said. "Completely crazy," Michael agreed. But it makes sense in a twisted way. It'd be like coming full circle. Would you leave everything in Boston? Your work at the foundation?" "I could manage. It's not so far." "And you?" Jennifer worked as an architect. She could design from anywhere. "Am I really considering this?" And she laughed. "I think we are." They presented the idea to the family. Reactions were mixed. "You want to move to the place that caused so much pain?" Margaret didn't understand. "We want to turn a place of pain into a place of healing," Michael explained. Elizabeth was more receptive. It'd be a form of redemption, giving new meaning to that land. Sarah, ever practical, asked tough questions about logistics, investment, risks. David offered legal help. "If you're doing this madness, do it right." They spent weeks weighing pros and cons, making spreadsheets, discussing details with Robert. In the end, the decision came from the heart more than reason. "Let's do it," Jennifer decided one morning. "Let's rewrite history." The process was complex. Paperwork, lawyers, irony of fate, and investments. But 3 months later, they signed the papers. Silver Creek Ranch once again had Collins and Baker as owners. "Our great-grandparents must be smiling," Robert joked during the toast. The move wasn't total or immediate. They kept their Boston apartment, splitting time between the city and the ranch. The first months were about learning, mistakes, adjustments. "Never thought I'd be tending cattle," Jennifer laughed, muddy after helping with the animals. "Never thought I'd see you tending cattle," Michael teased. But there was something healing about working the land. planting where there'd only been strife, building where there'd been destruction. The house was renovated, blending old and new. Jennifer handled the design, honoring history while making space for the future. "Look at this," she said one day, having found it under the floorboards. It was the Collins-Baker wedding photo. They'd seen before, but now with names written on the back. Emily Collins and Thomas Baker, 1938. They were our great-great-aunt and uncle. So there was already a marriage uniting the families. That was forgotten in the fight. Like so many good things, the ranch began to thrive. Robert had experience and capital. Michael learned quickly about farm management. Jennifer created agritourism projects that attracted visitors. "We're doing something good here," Robert remarked during a meeting. And they were. Jobs for the Yay. Region, sustainable production. An example of how old conflicts could be overcome. On a special spring day, Michael and Jennifer married. Not in the Grand Cathedral of Boston, but in the ranch's chapel, restored by Jennifer. It was a simple ceremony, just family and close friends. No running away, no drama, just two people who had weathered storms choosing to sail together. "For better or worse," Jennifer said her vows. "We've already had the worse, now I want the better with you." "For all the stories we carry," Michael replied. "And for all those we've yet to create." Elizabeth and Margaret cried together, two women who looked beyond grudges to allow their children's happiness. Sarah was the maid of honor, emotional. "I never doubted you'd make it. I just didn't imagine it would take such a winding path." David, a groomsman again, joked, "At least this time you made it to the end of the ceremony." The celebration was on the ranch's porch, under the stars. Music, simple but plentiful food, genuine joy. "It's perfect," Jennifer whispered during the dance. "It's not, but it's ours," Michael answered. And that's what mattered. Not perfection, but the conscious choice to build something together. Robert gave a heartfelt speech. "This ranch has seen fights, disputes, broken hearts. Today it sees unity, love, future. May it always be so." When the last song played and guests began to leave, Michael and Jennifer stayed on the porch, gazing at the land that was now partly theirs. "Think of all the pain this land has seen," Jennifer murmured. "And all the joy it will yet see," Michael finished. The full moon illuminated the pastures, the house, the new beginning they had chosen. "No regrets?" he asked. "None. Every misstep brought us here. Even the altar runaway? Especially the runaway. We needed to break to rebuild stronger." They entered the house that was now their home, leaving behind not the past but its hold over them. In the following months, life found a new rhythm. Hard work on the ranch, projects in the city, a balance. That worked. Jennifer got pregnant on their first anniversary. "A Collins Baker," she laughed, showing the test. "Our ancestors must be rolling over." "Or celebrating," Michael hugged her. "Depends which ancestors." The pregnancy went smoothly, with Jennifer splitting time between architecture projects and preparing the baby's room at the ranch. "They'll grow up here," she decided, knowing the history, but not bound by it. Margaret and Elizabeth became doting grandmothers even before the birth, competing over who would spoil the child more. "Two grandmothers competing but with love," Sarah observed. "Progress." Lily was born on a fall morning with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin. "Lily Hope Collins Baker," Jennifer announced the name, "for hope and new beginnings." Robert was chosen as godfather, moved by the honor. "I promised to tell her about the great-grandparents who were friends," he vowed. The ranch flourished, now known in the region as a model of modern, sustainable management. Visitors came to Litsuwa. Here the reconciliation story inspired. "We've become a tourist attraction," Michael joked. "There are worse things than being an example of overcoming," Jennifer replied, rocking Lily. On a quiet afternoon 2 years after the wedding, William Thompson came for a visit. He was older but smiling. "I came to see the miracle," he explained. "The families I helped separate united again." They showed him the ranch, the projects, little Lily running through the fields. "You know," William said at the end, "I spent my career dealing with family conflicts. Rarely have I seen happy endings. You give me hope." "It wasn't easy," Michael admitted. "The best things never are," William remarked, "but you chose love over hate. That's rare and precious." Before leaving, William left a gift, an old photo of William Collins and Catherine Baker in their youth, taken at a town fair. "Before everything," he explained, "when they were just neighbors who greeted each other. I kept it from the case. Files." In the photo, the two smiled, unaware of the future conflict ahead. Jennifer hung it in the living room, a reminder that hate was a choice, not fate. Time passed. Lily grew up hearing stories of her great-grandparents who had been friends, and of her parents who chose love over an old feud. "Why did the families fight?" she asked at 5 years old. "Because they forgot they were stronger together," Jennifer simply explained. "But you remembered?" "It took us a while, but we did." The ranch became a landmark, employing dozens of families. The house was constantly visited by both families, now intertwined. At a year-end gathering, with the house full, Sarah raised a toast. 10 years ago, I saw my brother abandoned at the altar. Today, I see a united, prosperous, happy family. To resilience. And to stubborn love, Jennifer added, kissing Michael. Robert, a loyal partner all these years, chimed in, and to our ancestors, who planted seeds of unity without even knowing. Lily, now 8, asked to speak. "I play with kids at school, and they think my long name is weird, Collins Baker. But I like it. It shows families can come together instead of fighting. Laughter and tears mingled, a child's wisdom summing up years of overcoming." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Michael and Jennifer walked through the fields under the stars. "We did it," she murmured. "What exactly?" "Turned a curse into a blessing. Gave Lily a story of overcoming, not hate. It still feels surreal sometimes, us here together after everything." Jennifer stopped, turning to face him. "You know what I've learned? True love isn't what survives despite obstacles. It's what grows because of them. Every challenge made us stronger. Even the runaway bride moment. Especially that. It shattered illusions, forced honesty. We weren't some perfect magazine couple. We were two real people, with heavy pasts, choosing to love. They walked back hand in hand, passing the chapel where they'd married, the office where they worked together, the room where Lily slept peacefully." "No regrets?" Michael asked, echoing the question from years ago. "Just one," Jennifer smiled. "What?" "Not knocking more books onto you in that library." They laughed, the sound echoing across the fields that had once witnessed so much pain and now overflowed with joy. In the ranch office, 2 framed photos hung on the wall, the great-grandparents shaking hands in society, and Michael with Jennifer, on their wedding day. Past and present united, proving that love, when true and brave, can rewrite any story. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of the story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share, leave us an honest comment. Do you think Jennifer made the right choice giving love a second chance? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more heartwarming stories.